19th, 8:57 a.m., 2024. Hope everyone's doing outstanding on this fine Friday. Talk a little bit about the markets, some of the names I'm looking at and go from there, but take a look back-to-back days of downside for the S&P. What at first seemed like some rotation on Wednesday turned into a broad-based sell-off yesterday. And is this the start of a correction, a bear market, or is this just more churn before the next leg higher? Hopefully, we can find some footing here today, get some positive momentum into the weekend. And then we have earnings next week, Tesla and Google next week. The week after is Amazon, Microsoft. Um, NVIDIA is further down, I think late August. But next week should be a little more exciting in regards to earnings. uh, take a look at the small caps. Even with the pullback yesterday, they're still up 2% for the week. The Nasdaq is taking it on the chin. The S&P is in the red. The Dow, which was green on Wednesday, was joined the party with the sell-off on Thursday. So hopefully you find some footing here. Some of the we've already kind of baked in higher odds of more rate cuts this year. Now we have the earnings season, so maybe that could be the next um, catalyst for market upside. But we do head into a kind of I wouldn't say the quiet period for the market, but the liquidity during August is not the best. So it leaves an opportunity for buyers and sellers to maybe take advantage a little bit. So we'll have to see how things all play out here. Last but not least, look at the VIX. The VIX is up 4 sessions in a row, closed up 10% yesterday over the late May area of 15. And back at the end of April, we were at 21. I'm not going to say we're going to hit 21, but I'm certainly watching the VIX. Even with the market up a little bit here in the pre-market, the VIX is in the green. So we'll see if that 16 area holds or we can get back under 15. I think that bode well. So individual names. So yesterday I did add some hedge positions. Uh, I put it on the watch list. Thankful. I say thankful, but lucky enough to be able to lock a lot of my call positions in to cover costs and roll those out to August in Roku. I did it in Square. I did it in U. So and Baidu. So despite those being down, I'm still made some nice profits on those. So freebies pretty much rolling out to August, but all of those names took it on the chin yesterday. Roku all the way up to $66. I'll talk about that in a second before pulling back. But some of the hedge positions. So first, I did this a little bit yesterday in the afternoon on my rant, but I talked a little bit about gold. If you don't know my rationale or my thoughts on gold, I'm not a gold bug by any means. I think at some point it's going to be replaced as a store of value. I'm surprised at many years, and I said this yesterday. I wrote a piece in 2014. I think gold was $1,400. It went all the way down to $1,000. Uh, not that I don't think gold doesn't deserve a percentage of someone's portfolio or what have you. I just don't think uh, that it deserves it. There's no dividend. There's it just so anyway. So I'm not going to get into a rant on that. But when the market does tend to have some weakness and things pull down in tandem, gold typically comes under pressure. Back in the day, gold used to go down when the dollar was stronger. It used to be a pair trade, right? Short gold, long dollar, short gold. It as gold went up, or as the dollar went up, gold became less attractive at priced in U.S. dollar terms. So it seems like that synergy has disappeared, and now it doesn't matter what the dollar does. Gold kind of trades on its own merits, and maybe the top in gold was Peter Schiff allowing people to buy gold on his platform. But again, rants for other days. I think he announced that the other day. So I did get some. I call it Nugget. NUGT is the ticker. It's a two times bull. I think it's two-time bull gold miner ETF. So what happens typically is as gold goes up, the miners go up. And as gold goes down, the miners go down. But if gold goes down and the market goes down, typically it's like a double whammy. It just exacerbates the move up or down. So uh, typically when we have turmoil, things like that, I look to trade some of these. And also typically I look to get J Dusts, which is the junior miners, or Dust, which is 3-time bear and 2-time bear ETFs for the miners. But the liquidity was a little tough on those names. Nugget looked a lot better on the liquidity basis, so I got some puts. Don't don't be surprised if I add some calls on J Dust or Dust here sometime today. But needless to say, you look at gold, 2400 is probably a big spot here. We're at 2405. It's down 2% today. probably one of the biggest slides it's had since early June. Starts breaking support, maybe. You know, I haven't updated my support resistance on my gold charts on the watch list in quite some time. So I have it 2400 and 2300, but there's definitely some areas in there. Well, actually I have 2450, excuse me, and 2300. But there's definitely some areas in there, 2375, 2410. So I'll update that as the as it comes back down. But I think there's an opportunity, even if the market holds its ground or rallies a little bit, I think gold comes under pressure here. So that's gold. I have my nugget puts. They expire next week. I'll probably lock it depending on, I mean, it's at 44.25 this morning. It closed at 46.40. So my put should be up pretty nice. If they're up 100%, I'll look to close some of those out to cover costs and ride the rest. There's the JDust chart. Lamb Research, I added some hedge puts, and I talked about this yesterday afternoon. The instant I added the hedge puts, it traded between 640 and 650 for the rest of the day, which is not good for the premiums. But I didn't want to be in a situation where we have a gap down. And you take a look what happened with ASML, concerns around China and restrictions, and it's similar kind of company make the hardware that does the chips. So you start looking at LRCX. Actually, it's at 951.30 here. I think there's an opportunity if it has some weakness here. It won't take much for the puts to gain value, so I added those as puts. Probably, you know, it's a spec trade, so it's hero hero zero. So they're not going to open pretty, but I still think there's an opportunity. And if it does show weakness and breaks under 940, I may look to add some more spec puts. I did add some TZA calls yesterday. So uh, I love the small caps. I hope they outperform in August, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm caught with my pants down. So I got some of those calls. The TZA was over 15 in the pre-market, came back down, said 1470 now. I'll probably hold those into next week unless I get an opportunity to close some out to cover costs. You know, you look, it was 13, TZA was 13 bucks on Tuesday, and it was 19 bucks last week. So not saying just because it was 19 bucks last week, that's where it's headed. But if we do have some kind of reversal in the small caps, even if it's short lived, I think that's a nice hedge play to protect some of my call positions. Roku, I just said it before, went all the way up to 66 yesterday. I closed more of my August 75 strikes for, I think it was about 300%. Still have just a couple of those. I added those August 85s as well. They'll announce earnings sometime in the next couple of days in regards to their date, which should be at the end of July. Netflix reported earnings after the close yesterday, mixed bag. Uh, I was hoping it was going to be a huge beat and raise. They beat their sub ad estimates. They posted great earnings, great revenue, but there was some cloudiness in regards to their advertising side of the business because that's their next leg of growth in the U.S. The U.S. market is saturated, so it's going to be very hard for Netflix to grow subscribers in the U.S. So the only way to really get growth in the U.S. is to find other revenue streams and other revenue and earning streams in the U.S. And that's going to be the advertising business. So if they're able to get entrenched in that, that'll be the next leg of growth. Didn't really offer much clarity on that, so maybe that's some of the reason why the stock is kind of muddling around here at 648. But great earnings. So I think this will probably be a historically small move for Netflix after its earnings report. Maybe it trades up here. There's a lot of positive analyst commentary this morning. Maybe it trades 650, 655, but it's probably not going to be too volatile. I wish it was a bigger beat and raise, and then Roku could follow in lockstep, but probably going to have to be patient there on Roku. Square and you, just disappointing. Square had an upgrade this yesterday, rallies, it was in the 73s, and then the entire morning since the open, it just sold off all the way under 70, then 69, then 68. Then it chopped around and closed right at 68 bucks. Still like the name. I mean, it gave back 4 days. It gave back half of the 4 day rally that it had. It was its 65 range for, I think, the entire month of June. And then the start of July. Finally started to rally from 65 all the way up to 73, and then gave back half those gains down to 68. Hopefully it holds here about 68 or so. I'm not going to add any more strikes. I got those August calls. I'll just continue to hold those. And similar to Roku, they're going to announce their earnings day. It's going to be the first week of August, somewhere in there. Hopefully that would also spark premiums. Yeah, and then Unity Software, almost down 9-10% yesterday. There was a point yesterday, it was trading at 17, and there was a fat finger print at like 1640. And then that's where it pretty much closed, 1637. So sometimes these fat fingers actually play out. I guess the disappointing thing here is you went all the way up to its 50-day moving average yesterday. Did it hit? It hit 1836. The 50-day moving average was 1838, and then it just reversed course and sold off nearly 10%. Still hopeful on that name. Still like it for upside. Not going to add any more strikes just yet, but if it does find some support, I'll look to add some more August strikes. And there's gold down now 2.25%. So this is one of those days. I remember, I don't know if it was March of 2014. I think it was like St. Patrick's Day. I wrote up one of the bear pieces on gold. I said like no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And the next day, what does gold do? It dropped 7%. It's probably its biggest one-day decline in a couple decades. And I wrote the piece beforehand. I'm not saying deja vu is going to happen here again, but I just think there's an opportunity for downside. So I usually, the other way I try to do gold, GLL is a good ETF. It's a 2-time bear ETF. So that's a name I might look at. GLD puts, J Dust calls, Dust calls. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. We have about 12 minutes to the open. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.